Hey, everybody, it's Camille Aiko. I hope that you are living the life that you love spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially on this fabulous Friday. So, let me ask you, are you an emotional person? Right? Are you always on this emotional roller coaster up and down? You can't control your emotions, or maybe you have problem expressing your emotions, or maybe you wear your emotions on the sleeve. So either way, doesn't matter which category you fall into, today is the conversation for you, because the truth of the matter is that we all have emotions, right? We all have emotions. It's a part of who we are. And the more we learn to deal with our emotions, the better our lives are going to be. So again, if I'm Camille Aiko, and I'm the founder of Infuse LLC. And so if this is your first time, sorry, I kicked my little camera stand there. But if this is your first time being on here, let me know, drop a heart. And if you're watching this live, go ahead and drop a one below. Or if you're catching this on replay, drop a two below. Just let me know. And if you want to, let me know where you're chiming in from as well. So we started a book discussion on, hey, what's going on, Mark? But we started a book discussion on the book, Are All Your Pieces in Place? And this book is by Glenda Feilen. And we've just been talking about how we are made up of 5 different parts, okay? Most people, we give most attention to our physical self, and then we neglect other areas of our life. Or maybe we give more to our mental selves or more to our spiritual selves, but we don't really take care of the other parts. But each and every part of us is so instrumental in becoming who it is that we want to become. And so the physical self is the self that you can see. It's the one that you look in the mirror and there you are, voila. But there is so much more to us. So yesterday we began, or 2 days ago, we began talking about our mental selves, right? So our mental selves are our thoughts. We're constantly thinking. And then today we're going to be talking about our emotional self, which is how we feel about the thoughts that we have made, the decisions that we have made through our thoughts. Then we have the vibrational self, okay? So this is actually, how we give off, what we radiate outwardly. And then there's the spiritual self, where there's the enlightenment and where there's the inspiration and where that comes from. And so it's important that we nourish each and every one of those selves. And so the nourishment, just like we eat physical food, you need to nourish each and every other part of yourself. So today, as we are talking about our emotional self, let me just ask you guys a question, all right? What is the food that nourishes your emotional self? If you know it, just drop it down below. What is the food that nourishes your emotional self? So we know for physically, hey, what's going on, everyone who's joining? Physically, we put actual, food, right, in us. We know for, as we talked about on yesterday and the day before, with our mental self, it is our thoughts. And so today we're talking about our emotional self. So what is the food that we need to be eating to nourish our emotional self? Any guesses? Any guesses? Drop it below. What is the food that we need? Oysters is what we need. That. Okay. What do we need to nourish our emotional self? All right, so that's what we're going to jump into. All right, so and here's the thing about our emotions, is that we can choose how we feel each and every moment of our lives. We can choose how we feel each and every moment of our lives. How we feel is up to us. It is your decision how you feel. And again, if this is your first time chiming in, send me a heart. Drop a 1 if you're catching this live. Drop a 2 if you're catching this on replay. And as you see me glancing up and down, I'm looking at 2 different cameras, okay? So you can have emotional stability by nourishing your emotional self and exercising it frequently. Yeah, give me some more hearts and likes as we go along. I need engagement. I like to be here with people and not by myself. Okay? But you can have emotional stability and nourishment by doing this every day. And so what am I talking about? What is this nourishment that we're getting? It's through your words. Your words are your nourishment for your emotional self. And so this is what we're really going to be exploring on today, is how do we use our words to get our emotions in check? Because for most of us, we're using our emotions and we're using our words, and our emotions are completely out of control because of the words that we are speaking. Okay? And so on today, what we're really going to be focusing on is how do we use our words to get ourselves under emotional control? Because when we are out of control emotionally, there's a lot of things that happen that shouldn't be happening because we are just simply out of course. Okay? All right. So let me go to page 50 here. So as you all know, we're discussing the book, Are All Your Pieces in Place? And then of course I just throw in my 2 cents here and there, right? So let me read this to you guys on page 50. If you get the book, it says, we speak to ourselves at approximately 900 words per minute, and 70% of our self-talk is negative. We tell ourselves constantly about all the things we aren't good enough to do, or shouldn't do, or can't do, or will never do. Who's guilty of this? Who is guilty of talking negatively to themselves? Who is guilty of telling yourself, you know what, I can't do that? I know I'm guilty sometimes. I know that I'm guilty sometimes. I keep telling you I'm looking at 2 cameras. One of the reasons is because, the reason I'm looking at 2 cameras is because I'm going live on my business page, right? And I would tell myself, okay, well, if I go live on my business page, then I'm going to lose followers because, I had all these different reservations about why I wasn't going to do something. And it held me back for so long from doing this, right? And it's because I was doing negative self-talk, and I felt like, okay, well, I just don't need to do it. And because of that, it stopped me from creating my best life. Like, it has stopped me from creating some of the things that I wanted to do in my life because of fear, because of reservations. And those were emotions that I was creating based off of the words that I was speaking to myself internally. So you have to begin to think and ask yourself, what are the words that you are speaking to yourself on a daily basis? So if you are guilty of speaking negative words to yourself, stop. That includes me, right? I'm not reading this book because I'm the professional and I've gotten everything figured all out. We're talking about this book because we're all figuring this thing out together, right? All right. So now, when there was actually a Dr. Seligman, okay, who explored the response patterns of both positive people and negative people. So your people who are I was about to combine the 2 words, but optimistic and pessimistic, okay? And he says, after many years of work in cognitive therapy, he found that optimistic people interpret events in a way that keep their minds positive and their emotions under control. They have a habit of talking to themselves in positive ways. So when situations arise, a lot of times it is how we then respond to those situations that is going to help us to keep our emotions under control. So when we're looking at this, it says whenever they experience any adversity or problem, they quickly describe it to themselves in a way that destroys its ability to trigger negative emotions or feelings of helplessness in themselves. The way they describe these events actually creates a sense of control. So when you have different situations that happen in your life, are you taking control of the situation? Are you taking away, hey, what's going on, Wilbert? Are you interpreting these events in a way that it's going to allow you to keep your emotions under control? Or are you overthinking it and you've created every negative possible thing that can happen, and now you're allowing that overthinking to overcome you, right? And that's what we have to stop doing, because when we do that, now we're like, oh my goodness, I can't live this life. I can't do this. It's just not going to happen for me, right? And then we get down into those lower vibration feelings of anger, of depression, which stops us from being able to move forward, okay? So we have to learn how to affirm ourselves daily, and not only ourselves, but other people. The people that we come in contact with, we have to begin to affirm these people, whether it's your children, whether it's your coworkers, your boss, your employees, your team members, whoever it is. Like, stop talking to people like they're stupid. Stop talking to people like they don't have a right to be spoken to in a positive manner. Because what you are doing is you're actually worsening the environment, not only for you, but yourself. And but others, not only for you, but yourself. Not only for you, but other people, okay? So, let me see here. Let me figure out where I'm at in my notes. All right, so words are vibrational, and they attract their like and create what you said. So when we're speaking, here's the thing, that our words, they create not only for the person that you're speaking to, possibly, because if you can speak some words to somebody, and as long as they know how to shut those words down and spit it out of their mind, then they won't have a problem. Here's the issue. When you are not personally guarding your mind, those same negative words that you spoke to somebody else is going into your subconscious mind. Because we talk about, for the mind, we got our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is just like a sponge. It just soaks up everything that you put in it, okay? So those same negative words that you speak to somebody else, they can shut it down, or maybe they take it. Now it's affected them. But it's also affecting you, because the subconscious mind does not separate you saying those words to somebody else versus you saying those words to you. So for instance, if you call somebody else a jerk, your subconscious mind is taking that in, and you also are becoming that jerk because you've called somebody the jerk. And it's oftentimes, have you guys thought about this? The things that we dislike in other people, most times are things that we dislike about ourselves. Like, you can, especially if you have children, right? Like, you might see that your child is doing something and it might irritate you. But the fact of the matter is, the reason why it really irritates you is because it is a reflection of who you are. When you really sit down and you think about it, you see it in yourself and you're like, oh my gosh, that's who I am, right? And so we have to understand that when we are speaking words, it affects the people around us and it affects us. And so we have to speak affirmations, positive affirmations, into everybody daily. All right. Okay. So where are we at? Affirmed out loud. So the next thing is, when we're affirming our words, that we need to speak it out loud, and speak only the words of things that you want to experience. Speak only the words of things that you want to experience. And I know that this can be difficult, because we can be in tough situations and we're like, there is just no way that this is going to be positive. Like, there is no way that this is going to happen for me, right? That we can often begin to think so negatively, and then we begin to speak that out loud, or we begin to speak that to ourselves. But if you want it to happen, you need to keep speaking positively. You need to keep saying, you know what, that I'm going to have success in every area of my life. I'm going to, and that is what you speak, that you're going to be able to accomplish what it is that you have set your mind to do. Because when you think do opposite, guess what? You're going to get that. That's what you are going to get. Now, let's see. The words spoken to or by a person can change the rate at his body or her body is vibrating, right? So just think about these three sentences. All right, think about these three sentences. You can say it to yourself, say it to other people, and see just how things change, right? I think you're a wonderful person. Say it to yourself now. I think you're a wonderful person. Camille, you, girl, are a wonderful person, right? Say it to yourself. I am a wonderful person. Look, I started smiling differently once I started telling myself that I was a wonderful person, right? I'm looking at myself in the camera. I'm telling myself that I'm wonderful, and I'm feeling different. I feel different. Try it. Just try it. Next thing, I really like you. I really like you. I really like you. How do you guys even feel when I'm saying this right now? Like, how do you feel? I like you. I'm talking to you now. I'm not talking to me. I'm talking to you. I like you. I really, really like you. All right. How does that make you feel? Does that change the inner feelings? I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. Then think about this statement. I love you. I love you. You got to tell yourself you love yourself. I love you. Camille, I love you, girl. Right? You got to tell other people, let them know, I love you. How does that feel? I'm talking to you. I love you. Right? I love you. I love you. And then when we begin, oh, thanks, Wilbur. Yes. Yes, Pat. Okay. So, when we begin to speak these words and we begin to affirm these things to people, it completely changes. So when you're, and I keep talking about parents on today, so maybe there's a parent that's going to watch this who needs this. But when you're talking to your children, right, and you're like, oh, you bad, get your tail away from me, right? Just imagine what type of words and things you are affirming to your children and how that's making them feel. Right? Because just even in these 3 little words here that we just kept repeating and saying, that made us feel a certain way. So if you're talking to someone and you're talking to them in a negative tone and you're talking to them with negative words and that's what you're affirming to them, it is the opposite effect. It makes them feel sad. It makes them feel alone. It makes them feel like they're not worthy. It makes them feel devalued. And so then you're going to see the effect of that, because then when you're feeling that way, it affects you mentally, because you can actually begin to believe like, well, I am bad. Well, I am worthless. Well, I can't do anything right. And then that's what those children begin to grow up with. And really the forming of our minds is happening from infancy to about 8 years old. And now while we continue to gather thoughts, the foundation has been set. So what is it that you are saying to people matters? What you are saying to your family matters. What you're saying to your children matters. What you are saying to the people around you, it matters. Yes, speak life in your words. And when we use the words that speak life, it creates emotions that keeps us at a higher level, that we can function in a place where we don't have to be negative, and it changes the way that we vibrate outwardly to the world, right? Okay, so words can create beneficial changes in your life as well as your body. So stick with me, because we're really going to talk about at the end some studies that really show how words can not only change you, again, just, hey, how are you doing? But how it can not only change your life, but literally how it has affected people physically as well. So is it harmful when others speak negatively to you? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so with our toxic words come from toxic people, and such people are dangerous to you. Okay? Toxic people who speak toxic words are dangerous to you and your life. And what you need to do is get away from them as soon as you can. And now some people are like, but it's my family. Well, sometimes you do have to separate yourself from your family. All right. I'm sorry. I'm dark down here. My lighting is bad. Okay. So instead of, and I like to talk about the laws of association. Okay. So the laws of association say this, that you become the average of the 5 people that you hang around most. Okay. And so with that, you have to really begin to analyze, well, who am I hanging around? And do I really want to be the average of these people? And then you have to say, okay, if I don't, if they're not benefiting me, if they're not helping me to get to my goal and what I want to do and where I want to be in life, then what do I need to do? You need to, one, either disassociate, which means you need to completely get away from those people and like not have any dealings with them. You need to have limited associations, which means, instead of spending a whole lot of time, instead of spending 5 days, you spend 1 day. Instead of spending 5 hours, you spend 1 hour, maybe 1 minute. It just needs to be a, hey, how you doing? Checking in, make sure life is good, and then you're out of there. Right? Or maybe it needs to be that you need to switch up your associations. Maybe you need to find people who and just completely create a different association with people. Find those people who are going to help you to get to where you want to be, who are going to pour into you, who are going to help you become the person that you want to become. Okay? So that's what you do with these toxic people. You get away from them. So now let's talk about with our words, because we're talking about what is the nourishment that feeds our emotional self, our words. And we're talking about really speaking those affirmations, right? So when we affirm things into people's lives, it impacts them, it impacts us. So why do affirmations work? So in our book that we're reading by Glenda Feilen, on page 59, it says, when you speak unkind words to others and call them names, your creative mind hears the words and directs them right back to you. So I alluded to this earlier, but listen to this again because it's so important. When you speak unkind words to others and call them names, your creative mind hears the words and directs them right back to you. That's tough. What are the words that you are speaking? Because maybe you're not where you want to be in your life because what you think you're outcasting to somebody else has really been coming back to you this entire time. Maybe it has been coming back to you this entire time. So when you state or write an affirmation, you are commanding through words. Affirmations work properly, stated or written, because they create a clean mental picture in your creative mind of exactly what you want. So this is what I mean when I'm talking about each part of ourselves. They really impact the other self. So when you are creating good words and you are affirming these words, then you write them down, you're speaking them, it is creating a thought in your mind, right? So now you have your emotions are attached to your thoughts, and it's creating a greater intensity for you to actually make this happen. You're right, those 3 seconds are infections. The words you speak have long-term, yes, they do, absolutely. They have a great long-term effect on us. All right, so let me make sure I'm sticking along here with my notes. So let me find myself. Why do affirmations work? Let's see. There are some points that I missed to say here. So change your words and change your feelings. Change your feelings and you change the people and the circumstances around you. Okay? So wanted to highlight that. So let me move on and flip to the next page. So that's why affirmations work, all right? Because you are literally being able to create the clear picture, mental picture that you need in order to execute what it is that you want to do, all right? Now, let's move on. And we are going to go to how to create affirmations, because there's a wrong way and there's a right way to create affirmations. And first of all, when you're creating your affirmations, you need to have a clear aim, and it needs to be definite what it is that you are trying to do, because you can't hit the bullseye if everything is blurry. Like if everything around you is chaotic and you are not focused, then it's going to be very hard to hit your target. Okay? God words, absolutely, William. All right, so we have to make sure that when we are speaking our affirmations, that it is very clear and it creates a very clear picture of what it is that we want to obtain. So you will only succeed in life if you have a definite chief aim. Some of you all aren't succeeding is because you don't have a definite chief aim. You don't know what you want to do with your life. You haven't really thought about it. You're just kind of out here working a job, you know, because this is what I need to do to pay my bills, but there's no real aim about it. Like you have no real goal about why you are living your life. You really need to sit down and think about it, because if you want to live the life that you love, if you want to create a life that you love, if you want to be what Glenda Feilen says, have success, joy, and happiness in your life, then you have to have something that you are working towards. Because if you don't, you will find yourself empty. You will find yourself feeling like, what have I spent my life doing? Like, have I even made an impact? What have I been doing with my life? Right? Maybe you might be asking yourself that question now. Maybe you've already asked that question and now you have found your purpose. But if you don't have a chief aim, then you are going to find a lot of confusion. So when we're talking about affirmations and goals and how to create the life that we want using our words, they have to be clear. They have to be concise. They have to create good mental pictures. All right? So if you're serious about reaching your dream, your goal, your target, you have to decide specifically which one single goal is the chief aim you desire. Successful men and women not only have definite purposes, they also have definite plans to attain their goals. All right. So once you get that the plan down, you have your chief aim, and you need to have your goals so that you can execute what it is that you want to happen in your life. So now I'm going to read some goals. All right. This is where the crowd participation comes in, if you're with me. So let's talk about what are proper goals and if these are really good, clear goals. All right. So you all let me know. Goal number 1 is this first example. I want to be rich. Let's drop a 3 below if that is clear. Drop a 4 below if it is not clear, or just say yes or no. All right, so I want to be rich. Is that a clear, concise affirmation? I want to be rich. Anybody? Any takers? Any takers? Anybody going to respond? I want to be rich. Is that clear, concise? Is that right on target? I want to be independently wealthy. I want to be independently wealthy. Is that clear? Is that concise? I'm not fat. I'm not fat. I'm not working in the collections department anymore. So as I'm reading these, just think about it. Like, are these clear, concise affirmations? Because we might be affirming things in our lives, but because it doesn't create the right picture, it doesn't create the right mental process, that might be the reason why. So you have to learn how to do affirmations correctly. I'm going to fit easily into my size 10 pink suit. I want to make $7,500 on each monthly commission check. I feel so sexy in my luxurious size 5 black velvet pants. All right, so let's evaluate. You all didn't do much crowd participation. Oh, Darlene, you did 4. All right. And now let's talk about it. Let's see which ones of these affirmations, according to Glenda Feilen, who is the author of the book we're reading, All Your Pieces in Place. Let's see what she has to say. I want to be rich. She says, no, it is not definite. What does rich mean? The word rich is ambiguous and means something different to everyone. There's nothing definite about it. You'll never get there if this is what you tell yourself as a definite chief aim. What definite or specific dollar amount means rich to you? And so she's saying you have to feel that in, all right? You have to make it very clear so that your mind can get a good mental picture. You can create, we talked about doing vision boards so that you could put it down on the vision board, be able to see it, so then you can create it with your physical self, because we know that our physical bodies are just helping us to get to where we want to go while we're here on this earth, right? I want to be independently wealthy. No, it's not. This is not definite. This is the same problem as number 1, because independently wealthy might look different for different people. You know, some people might feel like, okay, I can live off $2,000 a month. That makes me independently wealthy. Boom, done. Versus some people might feel like, no, I need $1 million a month in order to be independently wealthy. So you really have to make it clear on what it is, okay? I am making more than $4,000 a month. Come on, by this time we know, no, that's not definite. And why is it not definite? Because what is more than $4,000 a month? Like, that is a very huge span. So if we're not making it definite what we want to make, then we can't get there, because we can't create a plan to something that is not definite. I am not fat. No, again, that is not definite. Yeah, I'm talking and I need to drink some water. So hold on one second. Let me get my throat clear. Okay. Now, no, it's not definite just saying I am not fat. And here we have 3 big problems. First, there's a negative word in this statement. Okay. And so most times when we think of fat, we think negative, right? So that's what she's saying. Don't, can't, and no are not recognized by our creative mind. So this is a good point to remember. Don't, can't, no are not, and not are not recognized by your creative mind. So that means your goal, I'm not fat, is being heard by your creative mind as I'm fat. That's something to really think about. That if your creative mind does not take don't, can't, no, not into effect, then every time you say these things, that it doesn't even register. Your creative mind is giving it the negative thing. Another problem is that what you don't want, fat, is being used to state the goal. Why would you want your mind to access the concept of fat anyway, right? So we have to keep this in very good intention when we're writing our affirmations, when we're saying our affirmations to ourselves. Because you could be saying, okay, well, I'm doing my affirmations. Why isn't it working for me? Possibly because you are using the wrong words and your mind is not registering it. So you have to begin to really analyze, what is it that I am saying to myself, okay? So there's some things we're going to skip there. I am not working in the collections department anymore. No, this is not definite, right? Okay, so we're going to skip the other ones. All the other ones are not definite. So if you missed those other affirmation statements, go ahead and rewind it back, but they're not definite, okay? And so therefore, when we are using those types of affirmations, then it's of no good to us because our mind is not reading it. It's not registering it properly. But number 8, I feel so sexy wearing my luxurious size 5 black velvet pants. Guess what? Yes. This is the affirmation that is actually definite. I feel is most definitely in the present. Always state your goal in the now. I am presently wearing my sexy black velvet pants. That has a completely different vibe to it than I'm not going to be working in the department of collections anymore. So when you're like, oh, I feel so good now that I work in this dream job, and you state whatever that dream job might be, right? So it could be that you want to be a farmer. Like, I feel so happy and grateful that I am a farmer and I make $5,000 per month, right? Now that is definite. That is something that's very clear. You could probably see, you could feel the joy versus like, I'm not going to work in the collections department anymore. I'm just not going to do this with my life. Like, I'm not going to feel this way. I'm not going to have this in a relationship anymore. I'm not going to be treated this way anymore. None of those are definite. None of that is definite. And none of it is positive. So when we come to a point where you might just be like, you know what, I'm tired. I am just tired. I'm sick and tired. I'm tired. I don't want to go through this anymore. And that is what we typically affirm to ourselves over and over and over again. Come on, give me a heart or a like or something if those are some of the things that you affirm to yourself sometimes, where it's just like, I just don't want to go through this. I don't want to do this. I'm tired. I'm not going to put up with this anymore. But those aren't the words that we need to be speaking to ourselves in order to create, right? Because with our words, we create. God spoke it and it was. We have power of life and death in our tongue, right? And so we have to be careful about what it is that we are speaking. Thank you for that heart. Someone was being truthful that they have spoken those words, and I'm not the only one, right? But we have to be so mindful of the things that we are affirming to ourselves, because even if you have not intentionally written down affirmations for your life, you are constantly affirming things in your life by the words that you speak daily. So now that you know the power of your words and how it is nourishing your emotional self and how that impacts you mentally, you should be in a place where you're ready to decide that I want to speak affirmations with intention in my life so that I can create the life that I want to experience. And this isn't about, it is almost like a Jedi mind trick, right? Because we're like, okay, but Camille, we're not there. I don't feel it. I don't feel like, my relationships are healthy. I don't feel like my marriage is going well. I don't feel like my job is doing the best job of recognizing me and compensating me for all of my hard work. And that may be the case, but here's the thing. We're not in the thing of living in the past, because everything that they have done, it has been done. But if you want to create something futuristically, then you have to begin to see it and say it now and speak it into existence. You need to act it into existence. And so while we have the piece of reality of what is really going on, we also have to know that we have the power to create something out of nothing, right? I'm going to get some lunch in the next 5 minutes. No, Wilbert, where are you going to go get that lunch? Because something can come up, somebody can call you, and then you're talking on the phone, and then the next thing you know, you're not going to go get lunch. Right? Okay. So, where are we? Okay, so here are the rules. Check every goal against these. And how do you feel, Wilbert? How do you feel when you say that emotion? Like, I know I'd start doing a happy dance. Like, I am so happy. I'm about to go get some lunch from Chipotle in the next 5 minutes. Hey, right? Like, I love food. I love to eat. Like, create the emotion, right? You know, instead, and in fact, guys, instead of like waking up in the morning and be like, oh, I have to do this. I gotta take the kids to school in the morning. Wake up like, oh my goodness, I am so grateful that I have another chance to spend time with my children, driving them to school in 30 minutes, right? Like, you put some emotion and be grateful for what you are able to do, because some people can't get up and drive their kids to school. It might be early, I get it, but if you want to create the life that you love and stop being so negative and stop, you know, just downing everything, we have got to change our words. We have got to change the way that we think about things. All right, so let's go back to these rules here. Check every goal against these. One single most important goal. So do you have just that one big goal that is there? State what you want, not what you don't want. Dancing on the ladder and well, don't dance too hard. We're doing a lot on the ladder, okay? Sorry for all my people on my business page. Someone is saying that they are dancing on the ladder about the food that they want. All right, so be specific, must be positive, must be in the present tense. Feel it right now. What is happening in your life right now? These goals that you want, feel it right now. Must invoke intense emotion. Intense emotion. Your conscious mind gives orders to your creative mind. Your creative mind doesn't think, it just takes orders. So it's your conscious mind that gives orders to your subconscious mind. What are you telling yourself to do? Your creative mind takes those orders literally. So it's vital that you give correct, clear, specific, emotionally poignant orders, okay? All right, your creative mind knows no boundaries other than the ones that you put on it. And I'm on page 72 now. I was on page 71 of our book. It just obeys. By including all 6 steps in your conscious goal, your creative mind can go to work and create whatever you program it to create, okay? So when we are being very clear and we're using those guidelines, we're being very clear in telling our mind what it is that we need to do. And so when we tell our mind what we need to do, those are thoughts that are then nourishing our mind. So what thoughts are you nourishing your minds with? So your words create your emotions. Your thoughts nourish your minds. Your words nourish your emotions, and your thoughts nourish your minds. Now, write it down. Write down your goals. Write down your affirmations, because when you're writing it down, your goals and your affirmations then they bypass your conscious mind, go into your subconscious mind, and it begins the creative process. Okay? So it's just something about when you write it down. And so sometimes technology can mess us up, because we're like, oh, we're going to take notes on our phone, or we're going to type it. It's a different feel. It's a different vibe when you actually pick up a pen or a pencil and you actually write it down, and your mind is actually seeing the words that you are writing. So you're saying the words, you're seeing the words, and you're writing the words. And it's going to plant a deeper seed into your subconscious mind in order for it to happen, right? Okay? Now, let's go on here. Let's see, what's the next thing? We already read the rules for affirmations. Write your affirmations. And the best time. So we're almost finished. We're about to close out here. The best time to write your affirmations. Anytime you can find 2 minutes, and I'm on page 75, to write 2 or 3 affirmations, it's a good time. Write no more than 3 at a time. Writing affirmations at the same time every day is recommended, but because it becomes a habit and part of your daily regimen. So the more that you can make this a part of your life, that you create new habits, then your life is going to change, right? The successful people, the difference between unsuccessful and successful people is that they have some successful habits. And when you really begin to write down what your goals are and write down your affirmations, you're seeing it, you're feeling it, you're speaking it, that is what changes your life around. And most of us don't even have any goals. We don't have any affirmations for ourselves that are intentional, that are positive. And so this is why most of us are living lives that we don't love. This is why I can scroll through my Facebook newsfeed and plenty of times see people where they're like, I'm ready to give up. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of that. This person has done me wrong for the last time. Like, it's just a bunch of venting and negativity and not using our words and our thoughts to really create the life that we want. And I know people are like, but Camille, it's reality. Life happens. I understand that. I understand. But you can still live a good life in the midst of the chaos that is around you by the way that you think. And the more that you succumb to the negativity, the more your life is going to be negative. So let me read this next part. The next best time to write affirmations is within 30 minutes before you go to bed. Your creative mind is like a sponge during that time. When your conscious mind goes to sleep, your creative mind, the one that never sleeps, works on what you have just programmed. So maybe, you've watched a scary movie before you've gone to bed, and then you end up having some type of nightmare or some type of weird dream. Why is this? It's because what you have put in your subconscious mind before you went to bed. So that's what's on your mind. One time, my grandmother had been attacked. She was assaulted outside of our home. It was wee hours of the morning. She was driving through, and she came to the house, and this guy attacked her. And for a while, that really freaked me out. And I would be thinking about it before I would go to bed because it was nighttime when it happened to her. So I was younger, but one time in particular, I'm asleep and I was laying on my stomach, right? And so my hands were under my pillow and I was holding one arm just like this, right? And since those were my last thoughts, in the middle of the night, I felt like someone was attacking me, like they were pulling my arm. I was in this big struggle. And literally when I came to and came up out of this dream, it was me pulling my arm. And I was like having this struggle with myself. So I'm having this subconscious struggle because of the thoughts that I was having before I went to sleep, right? And if we don't nip those things in the bud and catch on to what is happening, then we actually begin to play that out in our lives. So if I never got over those thoughts of my grandmother being attacked outside, then it could be, well, you know what, I'm just never going outside at night, and I'll never travel in the, late at night, because I know that if I do that, then I'm just going to be attacked. That's it. There's no other option. I'm going to be attacked for the rest of my life because it happened to my grandmother one time. So that means all the other times that people were able to do things and nothing happened to them, it doesn't matter, because in my mind, it equates to being attacked, right? There was a guy that I was talking to when I was in Puerto Rico, and he said, you know what, when I was younger, I ate some Doritos, and I think it broke me out, so I just never ate Doritos again in my life. Now, not eating Doritos is probably a good choice anyway, but the point is that in his mind, he created these thoughts because of what he was thinking, right, about these Doritos, and he made choices based off of that, and it didn't make him feel good. And so he then started creating words and affirming that I'm not going to eat Doritos because they're going to break me out every time I eat Doritos. And so maybe he was missing out on the best Doritos of his life. We don't know, right? But you all get my point, right? Drop some hearts or some likes below if this is making sense to you, if you guys are getting anything from this, all right? Okay, now before we close out, I do just want to talk to you guys a little bit about literally how I mentioned earlier, how your emotions not only affect your life, but it affects you physically as well. So I'm going to be reading at the bottom of page 75. So your written and spoken words determine the quality of your emotional life. Your emotional life determines what you attract into your life. By controlling your inner dialogue, your self-talk, your spoken words, and your written affirmations, you can begin to assert control over every other dimension of your life. Keep your words consistent with your mental pictures and your goals and dreams. All right? Mind over matter is crazy. All the time, Natalie. Yes, it is, because our minds are so powerful. Mind over matter. Everything begins in the mind. Okay? And where the mind goes, that's where our life is going to go. So we have to be very careful about that. All right, so now for real, we're about to get into the whole physical effects now. Emotions that affect the physical body. Worrying about things you have no control over is hazardous to your health, like literally, okay? A Harvard study of 1,623 heart attack patients found the risk of heart attack was 2.3 times greater in 2 hours after an angry episode. So sometimes, you know, it's like we just had an argument and then they had this heart attack. A lot of times we did it to ourselves. Yep. A lot of times we have raised our blood pressure because we weren't able to control our emotions. And now look at you. Now you got a heart attack. And now I don't want you to have a heart attack. So get your emotions under control. Stop being angry. Stop doing it. Learn how to control your emotions. Something bad happens. Learn how to take the lesson learned and say, okay, I'm going to apply it to my life in this way. Be that optimistic person who can translate and respond to situations in your life in a way that is going to help you control your emotions and not have your body completely out of control. Anger is very, very dangerous. All right. In another study, researchers discovered that holding in anger increased the likelihood of plaque formation in the carotid, I don't know these terminologies, right? Or carotid, that's what it is. I said carotid, okay. Arteries of the women tested. So women, we're holding on to all of this anger, and your arteries are being clogged up. Emotionally, right? Emotionally, we call it, we're building these walls. We're like building all of these walls up, and we're never going to love again. And I can't believe you did that to me, right? And now we have, or we call it baggage. Now we have this baggage that's going to go with us from relationship to relationship because of what this man did. And the men too. Men feel the same way, right? Because of what this woman did, I'm never going to get married, or I'm never going to settle down, and I'm never going to do this. But it's also doing this to you physically as well, where your arteries are literally being clogged because of the anger, because of the resentment that you are holding on to inside. So the University of Michigan team found that people who tend to express their anger outwardly have twice the risk of suffering strokes, because anger episodes releases adrenaline into the bloodstream, making the heart beat faster and the blood pressure rise. Y'all, this is stuff that we need to make sure that we're paying attention to. Like, we're like, oh, gone too soon. I can't believe that it happened. Well, guess what? If they're an angry person, you better believe it, because it's more possible because of the life that they live. So if they eat unhealthy, right? They think negatively. Their emotions are out of control. You wonder why your health is out of whack. Okay. Now, according to a 20-year study, worriers have a higher risk of heart disease, and the more you worry, the greater your risk. Subjects who worried occasionally had a 70% Worriers occasionally had a 70% higher risk of heart attacks than those who rarely worry. So all you worriers out there, stop it, because you are increasing your chance of a heart attack, okay? So this is what we're talking about when we're saying, you know, some of these health issues are absolutely preventable. They are, and they all connect. When we're talking about the 5 cells, our physical, our mental, our emotional, our spiritual, all our vibrational, it all connects. It all connects. We have got to get ourselves together if we want to create our best life. So if you guys are getting something from this, if you guys are learning something new, drop a heart, drop a like, drop a something. Let me know that you're here and that I'm not talking to myself. All right. Frequent worriers had a 154% increase in risk of heart attack. Edward M. He's a doctor, an author, of worry. Controlling it and using it wisely says that excessive worrying can also result in high blood pressure, digestive and respiratory difficulties, and a depressed immune system. Oh my goodness, right? I don't know about you guys, but just reading this, even though I already knew, but when you see it on paper and like hear that like studies have been done and validate these facts, it's crazy. I'm gonna read it again. Excessive worrying can also result in high blood pressure, digestive and respiratory difficulties, and a depressed immune system. While your mind frets, your body reacts with a rapid heartbeat, sweaty palms, or an upset stomach, because your emotional self and physical self communicate with each other. Consciously controlling your tendency to worry keeps you not only happier, but healthier. When you learn how to control your emotions and not worry, you are actually allowing yourself to have a happier, healthier life. Okay, so there's a few more studies I'm going to read about and then we're done. A study at the University of South Carolina and Columbia found that women who are psychologically abused felt physical effects comparable to those endured by women who are actually beaten. Symptoms include chronic pain, ulcers, spastic colon. Guys, a study found that women who are psychologically abused felt physical effects. Like, people aren't crazy when they're like, okay, I'm in this type of pain. No, the mental affects the physical as well. What you are doing to people in your life, what you are doing to your children, what you're doing to your spouse, what you're doing to coworkers, what you're doing to people all around you, it matters and it impacts them more than you will ever know. So when you're looking at somebody and they're just completely out of control, begin to pray for them, begin to speak different words for them, affirm positive things in their life, because it can truly be the difference between life and death. It can truly be the difference between life and death. All right, so the article, blah, 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 blah. Let me skip down. Okay, so they did an article resulted from an experiment done by the Institute of Heart Math. In the experiment, the human placenta DNA was placed. Now, this is really interesting, okay? So the human placenta DNA was placed in a container from which they could measure changes in DNA. 28 vials of DNA were given, one each, to 28 trained researchers. Each researcher had been trained how to generate and feel feelings, which resulted in each of them having strong emotions. It was discovered that DNA changed its shape according to the feelings of the researchers. So we are actually able to change our DNA based off of the way that we feel. Strong emotions can actually alter your DNA. So when you really think about some of this stuff, and we're thinking about, okay, certain diseases we say are hereditary, right? It could be that it is hereditary, because then, of course, your parents' DNA is being transferred to your DNA. But perhaps the DNA has been like that because of trauma that they experienced in their life. So now the DNA has been altered and transferred to you. And now, whatever happens in your life, your DNA is being altered and then transferred to your children. What type of generational curses or blessings are you creating for yours and yours to come? What are you creating for you, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and generations to come? Because your feelings have a lot to do with that. You holding on to anger, you holding on to resentment, you holding on to worry is impacting generations of people, because it can alter your DNA. All right? So when researchers felt gratitude, love, and appreciation, The DNA responded by relaxing and the strands unwound. The length of the DNA became longer. When the researchers felt anger, fear, frustration, or stress, the DNA responded by tightening up. It became shorter and switched off many of the DNA codes. If you've ever felt shut down by negative emotion, now you know that your body felt shut down too. So literally, like people who might be depressed, why it's like, okay, well, you're just sleeping all day. It's because your body is shutting down. Your thoughts are communicating with your, yes, Darlene, wow, right? So your thoughts are actually communicating with your feelings, and it's making you act a certain way physically. So this is why you want to be in the dark. And it's not natural for us to just want to be in the dark, right? In fact, our bodies need the sunlight. We need the vitamin D, right? We need to be out and about. That's where we get life. But when your body is reacting to the emotions that you feel, you want to be in the dark. You want to be shunned. You want to be laying in your bed. You just want to sleep all the time. That is not what God created us to do, right? So we're living outside of our purpose, and this is so key. All right. So if you've ever felt shut down by negative emotions, read that. The codes were switched back on again when the researchers felt love, joy, gratitude, appreciation. So the good thing is that even though you might be feeling this way and it's having this impact on your body, you can actually switch it back on by feeling love, by feeling the gratitude, by feeling the appreciation. How incredible. How incredible is that? That God made us so intricately. Like he knew exactly what he was doing. Like we are not mistakes. We are not just here because, something from the sky came and blew up and then these little pieces. No, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are very well thought out. We have purpose. God has a plan for our lives. It's up to us to see that and begin to live it out. All right. So, man. And then the thing is notice the emotions, right? So I'm all about, infusing us with love and live the life that you love. So again, the codes were switched back on when the researchers felt love, when they felt joy, when they felt gratitude. This is why I'm big on saying with infuse is that we are transforming lives through love, because literally your life is being transformed when you feel loved. There's a young lady who I knew, and when we were, but when we first met, she was shut down. She didn't want to talk to people. She was very standoffish. But once she began to feel the love and see the love from people, then suddenly she flourished. She opened up. She began to do things that she was passionate about again. Things that she said, I don't want to do it anymore. Not because she didn't really want to per se, but because her feelings and her emotions had gotten in the way. And so she was shut down. Her desire had gone. But when she began to feel love, her life was transformed. And it's the same thing that can happen now. So maybe it's not you who needs to have their life transformed. Maybe it's somebody else. How can you do that? Show them love. Have joy around them. Give them joy. Appreciate them. Because you can literally be changing their life, not only right now, but their children's lives. Because we talked about how it actually changes the DNA makeup, right? It changes the DNA makeup when you're feeling bad and when you're feeling good. Y'all, this is deep. I hope y'all are catching it. All right. So it's incredible that individuals trained in feeling deep love were able to change the shape of DNA. Like, I don't know if you guys are like, even though this is not even my first time reading the book or discussing it. And of course, then I had to read it again as I was preparing for this. But literally, like, deep love is able to change the shape of DNA. This right here, it just, even strengthens why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? Why I'm talking to people about love, why I'm striving to show more love to people, because this is crazy. It is, not crazy in the sense of like, y'all know what I mean. But it is amazing. It is amazing what can happen to people through deep love. Deep, genuine love can transform lives. All right? They influence the DNA through vibrations that resulted from their intense feelings. Another experiment on HIV positive patients showed that feelings of love, gratitude, and appreciation created 300 times more resistance than the patients had without those feelings. That's deep. That is so deep. That literally, and I mean, we talked about this yesterday. We talked about that, with the placebo pill, and we've talked about how people thought they were actually dying when it was really just a piece of ice and some water, right? And literally, though, with disease in our body, based on how we feel, our thought process, what we are affirming to ourselves, we can boost our immune system so that things are not even impacting us based off of the way that we are feeling, based off of our thought process, because all of that impacts us mentally, and it can actually change our DNA. How incredible. Literally, we can speak life or death with our tongues. We can think life or death, right? This is why we have to become aligned with ourselves. This is why we can't speak one thing, think another thing, and do another thing, because it will change our DNA. And then other people have to deal with what we have done. This is why it talks about in the Bible that generations will be able to be blessed based off of one person. Take advantage of your emotional energy, your vibrational system. No matter what sickness may be floating around, stay healthy by staying with feelings of joy, love, gratitude, and appreciation. So guys, I thought we were going to be on chapter 4 today. That's what I said yesterday, but that was actually chapter 3. So tomorrow we're going to be on chapter 4. And how to exercise the emotional you, okay? So we've talked about how to nourish our emotional self on today with our words, and so on tomorrow, we are going to talk about how to exercise our emotional self. So I hope that you guys got something from that, and you're able to take it away, and you're able to implement it in your life. Make sure you share this video if you got anything from it. Drop some hearts, drop some likes, drop some something, drop some something in the comments. Let me know that this was beneficial to you. Oh, not tomorrow, because we're doing this Monday through Friday. So on Monday, we will resume. So we won't be doing this on tomorrow. But Monday, we'll come back and we will start out on chapter 4 of how to exercise our emotional self. So guys, I'm Camille Aiko, and I hope that you are living the life that you love, spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially. Goodbye.